where are we today? Well, the gist of it, I guess, is you've probably read the headlines if you haven't already. The U.S. Navy pulled its carriers out of the Gulf, and not a single country on Earth agreed to help us reopen the Hormuz. And that's where we are on day, 16 or 17? Trump asked over a dozen countries to send warships, and literally every single one said no, or is stalling, like South Korea, which is pretty much diplomatic for no. And China called it a sovereign right issue, and France flat out refused. And Japan said that the bar would be too high anyways. Germany won't send a convoy. And the UK, which obviously would have been the most, capable partner, just refused. And that was probably the last real chance, because if Britain won't do it, nobody will. And then it went even further. Oman went and then declared the entire war illegal and immoral. So Trump went to Financial Times and said if there's no response or negative response, it's going to be very bad for NATO. So we're just threatening NATO. And he wants European minesweepers and commandos to help clear the strait. And he was pressing China because China gets 90% of its oil from the straits. And he said that the summit with Xi might be delayed if Beijing doesn't cooperate. Let me turn the music off. Okay. Then Walt goes on CNN and said allies need to participate to help their own economies. And then the host pushed back because, the obvious question is, why should any country risk their navy to help fix a problem the U.S. and Israel created? That's what everybody was asking. Like, what the fuck? And while Trump is begging for help, the reality on the ground is, from what we know now, is that both carriers are sent packing. So the Chinese satellite images show that the Ford, and we know this now because we've reported as much ourselves, pulled into the South Red Sea, or pulled south into the Red Sea behind Saudi Arabia. And that's out of the Houthi range. And the Lincoln retreated over 1,100 kilometers, you guys, from Iran after one of its escorts were attacked by some gunboat earlier in the week. So at the start of the week, the Lincoln was less than 350 clicks away from Iran's coast, and now it's over 1,000 away. This is our super carriers. Does that make any sense to you guys? And the Navy commanders, they went on the Wall Street Journal, and they said that Iranian drones and anti-ship missiles will turn that strait into a kill box for American sailors. And Reuters is running headlines about the end of the aircraft carrier era. And CNN is asking the same question: how the fuck is a $13 billion asset getting pushed out of a theater in a week? And I don't know, whether you buy all of that or think it's overblown, the fact on the ground is that both carriers are gone and nobody is replacing them. So make of that what you will. I know some people like to have a bias on one side or the other, but this is just what's happening. Both our carriers pulled back. If we have air supremacy, or sorry, I should say air superiority, it's very strange that somehow both our super carriers have retreated. Okay. There's also this super messed up other thing that happened that they didn't talk about. It's the minesweeper situation, and it makes all of this shit way worse. There were 4 specialist mine countermeasure ships that were based in Bahrain, left in the Middle East in January. And they arrived in Philadelphia for decommissioning the day before the conflict began, you guys. And all 4 had already been taken offline. Listen to this. The Navy, I kid you not, they shifted their mine clearing to littoral combat ships that have bolted on mine modules, and those are bigger and slower, and they need heavy escort for these so-called risky operations. So the ships, I want you to think about it, the ships that were designed exactly for the scenario that we're facing right now were pulled out of the theater literally the day before the war started, and replacements aren't being built. This is incredible planning on our part. And the core problem is that Iran doesn't control the Hormuz by physically occupying space or putting a barrier in the water. They control it with those missiles, the drones, the mines. And the threat alone is what stopped the commercial shipping, because the shippers and their insurers, won't transit while there's threat, clearly, and they're laying mines at will. Even if the U.S. takes the islands in the strait and uses them as like forward bases, the soldiers themselves that are sitting there on those islands, they essentially become stationary targets for the very same missiles and drones that are there to neutralize. We've seen this happen in Ukraine. Dude, the body counts stack in drone warfare in the modern like war tactics of today. And even if you suppress the missiles and the drone capabilities and you somehow clear all the mines, what stops Iran from doing it again in 6 weeks or 6 months? How long do the U.S. forces need to occupy and patrol Iranian territory? Well, the answer is forever, or until you change the regime. And there is no regime change happening because, be honest, dude, the Iranians are seen in the streets clapping and cheering together. They're mourning their children, their dead children, and they're standing in solidarity with their leadership. They're not rising up. There is no civil, what could you say? Uprising to take down the government. It's not happening. That's what we were banking on. Quick decapitation strike. The people revolt. We get someone in that's friendly to the U.S. None of that happened. And so now the Iranians have the initiative. And they've been driving the U.S. into decisions that don't have simple outcomes, but rather compounding dilemmas. And the greatest weapon so far is this, dude, the economic consequences. And you got to think the Houthis haven't even fully entered themselves yet to close the Red Sea and open a third front, which is what they've already reportedly claimed they're preparing to do. And now Trump is reportedly considering very strongly putting boots on the ground to seize Kharg Island, which I mentioned before accounts for over 90% of Iran's oil. Except no country has committed to the coalition that he was trying to build. And the move appears contingent on whether tankers remained bottled up. So think about that. And there's this one analyst, and he pointed out that it won't matter whether Trump sacrifices a few hundred or a few thousand Marines to capture Kharg Island, because the U.S. will not be able to reopen the Strait of Hormuz without either a ground invasion with 500,000 troops, is what that guy quoted. And that would take at least a year, by which time oil could exceed well over $200 a barrel. Or by accepting Iran's peace demands and whatever those were, for the U.S. essentially to withdraw all of its military forces and to close all its bases in the Persian Gulf region, which we won't do. So those are the two options. That's it. There's no third one. That's all we have. So commit ground troops or close all your bases. Oh, okay then. So start putting long calls on crude then, I guess. So the New York Times confirmed last week in the Oval Office that Trump pressed the chairman of the Joint Chiefs demanding to know why they can't immediately reopen the strait. And the answer was literally they can't. And the Journal had already reported that Trump ignored his own general's warnings before the war about exactly this. And then Senator Chris Murphy, he walked out of some classified briefing. They put the cameras right on him. And the dude literally said they have no plan. They don't know what they're doing. It is alarming. And the Times also reported that Trump told Netanyahu not to hit the oil infrastructure in Iran because they knew Iran would retaliate, and Netanyahu ignored them. Thank you, Israel. And they did it anyway. And the White House officials thought he probably wanted some dramatic pictures of Iran covered in black smoke with black rain and all that shit to sell the war back home. So Iran responded by, hitting the refineries and the storage facilities across the entire region. That's what started our oil spiral. And the strikes are still happening on both sides. The U.S. reports it hit over 90 targets on Kharg Island on Friday night, and Trump said he might hit a few more times for fun. Literal quote, for funsies, bro. We're just striking for funsies. And the Isfahan strikes killed 15 people, including factory workers, and Iran launched its, 50-something wave of barrages, hitting a bunch of, how many U.S. bases now? I don't know how many U.S. bases have been getting hit. A wave of barrages in the sky just hitting U.S. bases across the Gulf. And militia forces, and this is a crazy one, there's a showing of a video. So militia forces struck a major U.S. base near Baghdad airport with rockets and whatever else. And there's video of the base burning with Iraqi onlookers narrating, the explosion and the reports of the American soldiers being killed. This hasn't been confirmed, but you can hear people screaming for their lives, like in agony, like I lost an arm, legs, I'm on the verge of death. So, and that was showing an American base. Now, CENTCOM, obviously, for optics, is not going to release all this shit. They're being pressured into releasing all this information, drip feeding us, right? Kind of like how women do. In the fog of war, you're getting trickle truth because the full truth is too much to bear. Nice to see you too. If we nuke Iran, probably we'd get nuked ourselves. No, we'd become a pariah, though. There's absolutely no reason to nuke. That'd be insane. And then Saudi Arabia is intercepting drones over Riyadh and knocking down all the ballistic missiles that are coming. And the flights have been suspended over the Dubai airport. And what else? Oh, Iran warned people to evacuate major UAE ports on top of all of that. And all our bases, I think within a kilometer, Iran, this is recent. Iran recently sent out a statement saying that all our gas and oil assets in the Middle East, that people should evacuate within 1 kilometer distance. So think Chevron, think all the oil that's there, everything, all our gas and oil infrastructure from our companies running in the Middle East, they're now most likely going to start targeting. And Israel's running critically low on interceptors. We already know that. The barrages are continuing nightly. More and more videos are popping out. And then finally, CENTCOM is finally putting numbers on what you could say some of this is costing in American bodies. And the Washington Post was reporting that that's where that over 200 troop number comes from, have been injured since the war started across 7 different countries, with at least 10 still in serious condition and several dealing with like traumatic brain injuries that only show up days after the initial drone strikes. And we have 13 killed in action confirmed, plus 6 more from the KC-135 crash that happened a few days ago in Iraq, which puts already the total U.S. fatalities higher than anything the administration has publicly acknowledged over, I don't know how many days. So we have over 180 of the wounded. They returned, but, delayed concussion cases are still emerging, all that shit in the Pentagon. And even the Pentagon themselves, they underestimated how quickly Iranian drones and proxies could hit American personnel across the entire Gulf. Weren't we supposed to plan for this? Like, this is what blows my mind. So, back to what I was saying. American troops basically getting hit in 7 different countries simultaneously by what amounts to $7,000 drones while we're burning multi-million-dollar interceptors trying to stop them. Fucking clown show. The asymmetric losses keep stacking. The UAE lost its only highly advanced, early warning, what do you call it? Surveillance aircraft. I think it's worth nearly $1 billion. Destroyed by a drone, guys, that cost maybe $7,000. Think about that for a second. AWAC. That's what those are called, I believe. AWACS. Those advanced early warning radar-equipped plane. $1 billion destroyed by $7,000 fiberglass piece of shit. Their only AWAC destroyed. Then there is unverified reports that an Iranian missile hit a major IDF bunker in Tel Aviv, housing a bunch of senior officials. Can't confirm that one exactly, but the IRGC has at least issued direct assassination threats against Netanyahu. And then you already know he released a proof of life video. Even Snopes flagged it as potentially AI generated because it showed 6 fingers on his right hand. And then he released a second video in a coffee shop drinking coffee. And then people also noticed other weird inconsistencies there. Like he's using his left hand in all the old videos, but he's drinking coffee with his right hand now. And then when you zoom in on the something on the counter where like the POS system is, it's dated 2025. So they didn't even get the year right on the video. And then somebody else overlaid Mushtaba, so the supreme leader there. They overlaid him on the same exact video as Netanyahu. And dude, because the AI has advanced so much, it's literally the same video with Mushtaba's face, his beard, everything. And it looks completely real. It looks like it's him. You can't tell any different. So AI has gotten so good that you can't actually believe a leader is still alive until they're in front of reporters. They're actively taking questions. It's like a live interview or a briefing where reporters are present asking questions. These weird videos of like, hey, I'm here drinking my coffee or I'm speaking by myself, but they're missing from all the other joint meetings and all that shit. It's fake. So hasn't been confirmed. In my eyes, he is not confirmed alive just yet. The videos are way too easy to be fake. So anyways, the Iranian supreme leader officially in our claims, in the U.S. claims, was that he was disfigured in the initial strikes And a retired U.S. general went on camera and confirmed that the military is burning through interceptors faster than production, only making a few per month, apparently, is what we're doing. And it's actively stripping our defenses from the Pacific and Taiwan to feed this war. And on Mushtaba, too, I saw another video or a post saying that he was secretly flown out to Russia at the invitation of Putin. He was actually injured and he's being treated in Moscow. Unconfirmed. Don't know if that's true, but that would be something Russia would do, of course. Okay, so then.
A Pagani BC.
Hey, thanks, brother. I'll get to the supers in a second. And then the human cost of the war, okay, keep climbing. We have it's quoted 10,000 homes damaged or destroyed in Tehran alone and more than 1,400 killed since the, bombing started. And even the fucking Pope comes out and demands a ceasefire. And he specifically, the Pope specifically called out the school strike in Minab that killed, 165, 175 children. And now you have horrendous numbers. 53 of U.S. voters now oppose the war and 75% oppose ground troops. And Trump rejected Iran's peace outreach, saying the terms aren't good enough yet. And Iran's position is that the strait isn't closed, it's just being controlled, which is their way of saying they'll let non-U.S., non-Israeli ships through. And if they want to, they would have to settle in Chinese yuan and they would allow the ships to go through. So this splits the coalition further because think about it. Why would China or Japan help reopen a strait that Iran is offering to let them use? So the economic damage is compounding. And Goldman Sachs says if the Hormuz stays shut through April, then Qatar and Kuwait's GDP can contract by 14% just this year alone. And Bloomberg is calling it the worst damage to Gulf economies since the 1990s. And all those Vision 2030 diversification plans, they're all getting shelved. And then the Treasury Secretary Bessent, he has announced that the U.S. this is so fucking retarded. The U.S. is we're allowing Iranian oil tankers to pass through the Hormuz. And then this is why oil dumped below 97 on the headline. And the indices surged today and everybody acted like the crisis is easing. But think about what actually happened here. Because the U.S. doesn't control the strait. Iran does. And Iran already offered to let non-U.S., non-Israeli ships go through days ago. So what Bessent actually did is rebrand Iran's policy, if you could call that, as an American decision to get the prices down in the derivatives market. They bought into that shit. But actual physical crude is a completely different story. I mean, we looked at over here. I think I have it. Oman is trading at 145 currently. It was 147 in Kuwait and Iraq north of 120. And the gap between paper price and the real price is the gap between the narrative and reality. So over 3 trillion has been wiped from global markets since day one, guys. And the disruption is spreading beyond energy. We're talking into food and everything else that the administration is essentially doing. Exactly what the fucking CME had warned. They warned them not to do this, which is intervene in the derivatives market to manage the optics of the situation while the physical supply crisis gets worse. And censorship is coming because there's reports in the mainstream media. They're going to start blocking the Iran war footage completely. And if you've been getting your information from independent media accounts, and that raw video window is probably going to close soon. He wants to charge them with treason. That's crazy. He thinks he's being unfairly covered for the Iran war. So we're supposed to buy into the whole thing he said 4 days ago that we've won. We've totally won. This is over. It seemed like he was ready to walk away and call it a W. Now all of a sudden we're building a coalition. It's like people have a goldfish memory. We were told this is going to take no time at all. All of a sudden we need the help of Europe and NATO. So it seems like we're a bit distressed. The war briefings are not looking too good. Trump wants to close this shit out. Vance was seen distancing himself. He's going to take a major beating because he was the one that was partially blamed for going in so heavy into Iran in the first place. And then there's classified intelligence assessment that just landed on Trump's desk. And the Washington Post got the details yet again. So after 2 weeks of bombing, you have over 15,000 targets destroyed. The original supreme leader got killed. A chunk of Iran's navy sunk, if not all of it. The intelligence community's conclusion after all of this is that the regime is not only surviving, but likely to come out of this more radical, more entrenched than before. And the IRGC command structure is fully intact. And on top of that, they're consolidating power. And the moderate diplomats that they did have inside Iran who used to push for the negotiations, they've been completely discredited. And the hardliners are stronger than ever before, way before the first bomb ever dropped. Holy shit. And the assessment explicitly says that Trump was told that this would happen before he gave the green light. And then the whole theory was that you bomb them hard enough, the regime cracks, the people rise up, and none of that is happening. What's happening is the opposite. Iranians are rallying around the government, and the people who wanted peace have been proven wrong in the eyes of their own population because we did exactly what they said America would never do. Gulf allies are described as furious in private briefings because, hey, there's no victory here and they're not getting it. The strait is still closed. The economic damage for them is absolutely mounting. So think about that for a second. There's no plan for how this ends, you guys. The intelligence community is telling the president that the war is becoming exactly what Iran wanted. Think about that. A fight of endurance that America can't afford to lose, but can't seem to win either. So we're at day 16 or 17. I don't even know. There's no ceasefire. We have no coalition. Both carriers are out of the Gulf. 0 countries have committed to helping us. Over 200 from CENTCOM reported troops wounded across 7 countries, 13 killed, while Trump is threatening NATO, our only ally, and then pressuring China. And then and our minesweepers got decommissioned the day before the war. And now a Karg Island fucking ground operation is on the table and looks like it's preparing. Netanyahu's ignoring us and just bombing shit and serving his own directives, driving up the escalation while Iran is on its fucking like 80th wave of strikes. Who knows how many so far. Israel's running out of interceptors. And then the U.S. is now forced to strip the Pacific of defenses. We're taking shit out of South Korea just to feed a war that's killed over, 1,400 people in Iran, with the Pope calling for a fucking ceasefire, as if the Pope matters. With the majority of Americans are literally opposed to this. His own intelligence community is telling him the regime is stronger now than when we fucking started. What are we doing? And the general who warned Trump not to do this shit is being asked in the Oval Office why he can't fix the thing he was told not to break. Excellent planning, you guys. How could this ever happen? Holy moly. That is our Iran update as of Monday the 16th. Well, what's interesting to me about all this is like the implications in the future. Clearly, this is not going to end anytime soon unless we declare this over just to obviously call a quick W and go home because we can't stand the economic damage. The fact that Besson even announced that the U.S. is somehow allowing Iranian tankers through the strait is it's insane. What were they thinking? Literally makes no sense. We have not even talked about the fertilizer spike that's baked in the prices right now. The grocery prices in the next 8 to 12 weeks, guys, are going to shoot up dramatically. Fertilizer is already up 77% in cost. Planting season is literally right now. Right now. And all the farmers already talk about fertilizer prices are already too high. There's multiple videos on them. Yeah, I got a new one for you. So all these higher inputs are already going to cost higher food prices through harvest. It's going to probably hit stores in July and August. And you're going to start to see that this will become a kitchen table issue for a lot of Americans. And it's probably going to override a lot of things. Hey, you sent that in. Thank you. Like, especially during the midterms, it's not just gas prices. It's going to be food on the table. It's going to be groceries. And I have a theory. Why attack Iran now before midterms when it would have been so catastrophic to midterms to attack them now? I think they had some internal polling data. I think based on ever since the first strikes in Iran last year, I think ever since they backed off from mass deportation and offered a kind of quasi-amnesty, 600,000 Chinese students, infinite H-1B Indians, absolute debacle. Let's just be honest with the Epstein files. Complete fuck up. Major. I think they saw internal polling looked like an absolute nightmare. And it's just like, let's just give Israel the entire checklist of whatever it wants. Let me just do what Miriam Adelson wants. Let me give them everything because we're going to get crushed in the midterms no matter what they do. I don't think they had a shot. So they're pretty much like a Hail Mary pass right now to get the worst of the worst policy decisions in place, knowing that there's going to be an avalanche. That's what I think's happening, honestly. And then the fact that Trump is begging China, of all countries, China to help with the fucking Strait of Hormuz and threatening them with Taiwan. Like, what are we doing? Beijing now names its own price. Seriously. So Trump delays the Xi summit to pressure them somehow. China has 1.2 billion barrels in reserve. People don't even know that. And they can afford to wait. They're also rerouting pipelines from Russia. Okay. So what does China ask for in exchange if they were to come help with a strait? Taiwan acknowledgement? Duh. Tariff rollback? I don't know. Sanctions relief for the CHIP Act? China literally can extract concessions right now that are worth decades of diplomacy in like one phone call with Trump. Or they could just sit there, do nothing, watch the United States bleed it out in the same way Russia was bleeding it out with Ukraine, and then they come and pick up the pieces later. I mean, that seems like an easy play, doesn't it? And okay, let's say we do go and take Karg Island, guys. Iran escalates to what? Think about that for a second. If we end up taking Karg Island on the escalation ladder, what would you think is next on the list? Iran's entire doctrine is designed for that specifically. They want the U.S. to put boots on the ground in fixed positions. They want to have the Houthis fully activate and close the Red Sea as a second choke point. Now you're going to have, what, 2 straits closed? And then, what, Hezbollah will open a northern front against Israel? So that stretches supply interceptors to what? Practically zero, if anything at all. And then Iran starts to hit Gulf oil infrastructure just like they promised they would. Even harder because they got nothing left to lose. Their ace in the hole is the Strait of Hormuz. If they somehow did lose the Karg Island in the Strait, why not escalate and burn the Middle East down? Cook the entire world for their dependency on energy in the Middle East. Dude, oil would probably spike to 200 in days, not weeks, in that scenario. So think of it in that sense too, like second order effect. The escalation ladder is essentially a strategic game where they're waiting to see how far we cross the line so they can cross theirs until we run out of lines to cross and everybody else suffers for it. A majority of Americans now oppose the war. This is probably the only war America's gone into when the opposition this early is so bad. We don't have the political will. He doesn't have the political support to even carry out the Iran war, let alone these strikes. Every day the dollar gets worse at the pump, people are going to start feeling worse and worse. This is probably the most, we're rationing in your area. Do you see what I mean? This is probably the most visible war cost since the rationing days. This dude's already rationing in his area. That's insanity, dude. Yeah. I don't know. How could you possibly put ground troops at a 75% opposition from the populace? So the electorate is not on board. That means the Karg Island operation is politically suicidal. It's done. Okay, well, if you go with the idea that midterms were already done for and the Republicans are getting wiped, it would make sense why even considering the Karg Island ground invasion is a thing right now. That's it. That's like my conspiracy theory on all of this ramp up that we're seeing here recently. Is that those Epstein files coupled with everything else I said has gotten the MAGA base so dejected. The support for Trump is so low. And by the way, it was reported that fucking Jared Kushner, that Jared Kushner confided in the president that if he were to launch the Iran war, he would have more support than the Iraq war did. He would have overwhelming support. It would boost his numbers. So Kushner pretty much manipulated the president through his fucking fragile ego of having good polling numbers, if that report is to be true. So imagine that. So look, the midterms are in November. Gas might be at $5. Food prices will be spiking. We might have body bags from a fucking island that nobody's ever heard of until 2 weeks ago. and expect something beyond a blue wave. I mean, I don't even know what Republicans are going to do in 2028. I mean, this is going to carry over. Then you're going to have a lame duck president if he doesn't get impeached. I mean, impeachment is on the table, but lame duck for sure. Going into what, 2028, and what are the Republicans going to promise? Will be different this time? Oh, but who do you got? Your two front runners are the guys that were in the administration. So Rubio or Vance? So let's just deal with the more of the same shit then. So you're going to change by bringing in the same guys that were telling the president to strike Iran. Okay, great. On top of this, the Gulf states are pulling all their money from the U.S. markets. There goes $5 trillion in investments, but even with the petrodollar stuff, maybe somewhere in the future, and all that money's got to go somewhere. The obvious destinations, if you're the Gulf states, has to be China or Singapore. And both are already courting the sovereign wealth funds of the Gulf states. So if the petrodollar recycling breaks down, the dollar demand drops structurally, not just like cyclically, hey, temporarily while this war is going on. This is a reapproachment with new trade rules, with new trading partners. There's no reason to go back to the petrodollar. They're going to find investments elsewhere. We've already shit on NATO. We shit on Europe by tariffing our only allies. And then we have the gall to come back and go, can you please send your battleships and your navy to assist us in demining and getting transit through the Strait of Hormuz after we told you you're weak and you're gay and you steal from us and we are going to tariff the shit out of you and get on your knees and beg for the American empire to grant you reprieve, all at the helm of Nero the Trump, who just flies by his own anger. And the Europeans are like, nah, bro, you got this shit. You and Israel started it. We're not about to get our fucking ships blown up because your stupid ass war. Everything was fine until you bombed them. This is insane. So and now it's showing that they're polling the populations of Europe. And a lot of the European countries were saying they see China as a more stable partner for the future than the United States. Canada has an overwhelmingly positive spin on China, negative on America. Germany sees China as a more reliable, stable partner than they do America. France, same shit. The UK, same shit. So if America's staunchest allies, the ones you have a similar Western culture, Christian founded, you have a civilizational brotherhood. Europeans founded America. America became Americans. There's a shared kinship there. If your own brothers on the other side of the pond are now looking at China and saying they're more stable, better trading partners, I think it's time to say we fucked up big time. Far more than we're willing to admit. I told you guys this may be a Pyrrhic victory at best. We may win the war overall. It will cost us everything. It'll cost us our allies, our trading partners, our economy, and our hegemony. This war, if it happened, should have happened 40 fucking years ago before drone warfare ever existed, when conventional armies are all there were, when Iran was working with absolute garbage tech. Nothing, these new Zerg tactics, it's like a game of StarCraft for those of you that played. What we're essentially watching is like the United States is Protoss. I know this will go over a lot of your heads. Protoss, I'll explain it simply, there's three races in this game. Protoss is an advanced race like aliens, and they have huge capital ships, and they do a ton of damage. Each singular unit is extremely powerful in and of itself. And then you have this other race, it's called Zerg. They're bugs. Think of, what's that movie with all the bugs? Starship Troopers. You just spawn massive. They're all cheap. Each individual unit costs next to nothing. Ironically enough, the Protoss, they have a capital ship. It's like an end game unit. It's one of the most, it's the most expensive thing you can build in the game. It comes with these 12 little things called interceptors. They're little drones that come out of it that shoot the enemy units. And once you have enough of these carriers, like 12 of them or more in a group, it unleashes what looks like a fucking hornet's nest of attacks on other enemy units and decimates them completely. These are endgame units that are fucking strong, and they do a ton of damage. They're called carriers. Okay, the bug race has a different unit. It's called a Scourge. It looks like a drone. It's a bio drone. It's a kamikaze drone. It costs nothing. It's the cheapest unit in the game. It's almost free. And for the price of one, two pop out. They pop out of these little eggs. So you buy one and two come out. They're kamikaze units. It's a one and done use. Do you know what the strongest counter to a carrier is in that game? It's a Scourge. You mass tons of small units, cheap units that are thrown away. Literally a suicide into, they blow up and that's it. You built a capital ship that took forever. The building time of these units, they take forever to come out. You pop out a Scourge in no time, just like this. It is the perfect example, like the metaphor for what's going on here. Iran is popping out $7,000 kamikaze drones that cost nothing, and we have $13 billion carriers that are forced to retreat. And in the game, in order to beat such a giant capital ship, the bugs just make more suicide bugs, and you just watch them suicide into these huge, expensive ships. And essentially what they do is they overrun that race. Like when they're fighting on the little field, all these cheap units just start to pour in. They start to pour in and overwhelm them. Each unit by itself from the bugs is super dumb, stupid, weak. It takes 2 or 3 of them to kill one unit of that other alien race. That's us. And so 2 maxed out battles happen with maxed out, supply of these units. That alien race destroys the bug, but they take critical damage. And by the time they move across the map to attack the home base, which is Iran in this case, they've already built up another full army, fresh, of the cheap units ready to go. And the reinforcements come and cripple and destroy and overrun the advanced race. This is what the fuck it looks like. We have $13 billion nation destroyers on the conventional level. Almost no country can contest them. But in the age of drone warfare, where you can pump out hundreds, if not thousands, if you're China, of these cheap drones to overwhelm our defenses and kamikaze into all our fucking super carriers and all the supporting boats, it's over for us. The carrier is just a giant death trap in water. And this brings me back to China. If we're having this much trouble with Iran, how the fuck do we contest China? The modern warfare of today is all about material. It's all material, technically. You have to think of it like this. Boots on the ground, actual infantry are second most important. They're no longer the most important. They're a support structure for material warfare. Who has the most drones, the most tanks, the most autonomous weapon systems and vehicles wins the war of the future. Once you exhaust your opponent materially, the boots on the ground then advance and capture points. That's what the war of the future looks like. How do we go to war with China when, one, they have 30 million men that don't have wives, and they never will because there's not enough women. You have 30 million bodies to throw away, already the largest standing army in the world, the largest reserves in the world, and you are the largest manufacturing power in the world with the most advanced drone companies in the world. The largest drone manufacturer is DJI. That's Chinese. They can produce tens of thousands a month of drones. Iran maybe produces 400 was the last quote that we saw. You understand how bad that looks? Think about this for a second, guys. You're going against an enemy that controls 98% of gallium refinement in the world. So all those advanced chips, everything you see that takes all these advanced ballistic missiles, precision targeting, all of that stuff, the refinement for the critical metals used in those components are all in China to the tune of 98%. That's just gallium alone. They also are the main refiners for other metals that are also critical components. So we're supposed to be running out in about, I saw 2 to 3 months in our critical minerals or metals, that are used in the manufacturing of our precision munitions. We have about 3 months. So we have to lock out the Iran war in 3 months or suck off China for gallium and whatever else. Do you see what a precarious position we're in and why we're so desperate to close this shit out right fucking now? It's not just oil. It's also rare earth metals. And we don't have the manufacturing capacity that we once did, like we did in World War II. We're not the world's manufacturing hub so that we could produce all this shit and bomb them to death. We're running out of interceptors. We're running out of ordnance that we need. Meanwhile, they're just mass producing shitty, dumb drones, and they're doing critical damage. We've had a retreat, 2 of our super carriers. And we're supposed to be fighting China that could produce tens of thousands, multiple tens of thousands a month of these drones. It's not looking good. Just saying. When you start to factoring a lot of these things, it looks horrible. And while everybody stares at Iran, for example, what the fuck is Moscow doing in the next 30 days? So the Patriot interceptors being pulled for the Gulf, Ukraine's air defense is thinner now. Think about that. Thinner than it's ever been, and the entire war has started, right? The Russian strikes are already at their highest intensity in 4 years in Ukraine, and they're climbing. They're making, once the Urals barrel was at what, 70? Now it's at 90. They're making probably 200 or more now, $1 million per day extra in profit. They're about to churn buku amounts of drones. It has been already detected in Iran that some of those drones that flew into the Gulf states, they have Russian components in them. So Russia has been shipping Iran because Iran's been getting bombed and maybe their drone making facilities have taken a hit, or at least they've imported some critical, chips or whatever components are in the drones from Russia directly. A payback for the shaheeds that Russia was being provided with Iran that was doing a ton of damage in Ukraine. Think about that for a second. The peace talks have completely stalled now. Trump is distracted with this Iran shit. Europe is in an energy crisis already and then triple fucked. They got fucked by COVID. Then the Ukraine-Russia war. Now they're getting screwed again by the war in the Gulf. So how Europe doesn't go into a massive recession, just EU-wide, I don't even know. Putin is like the most important man on the planet right now. Oil revenue is up, bro. Pressure's down. He's no longer sanctioned. He could sell his oil to everybody. His time horizon just extended for the war in Ukraine. Why the fuck would he negotiate right now? China's literally knocking on his door saying, hey, this Iran shit, we're going to need to secure oil from the north, from the Siberian pipelines. Start building that shit. Send it over the border. Europe's like, fuck. We're depending on Russian oil and gas now. And then Russia was like, hey, because you guys are such dickheads, we're not selling you any more gas, period. And they've diverted that to greener pastures where they're making way more money now. So Europe is the biggest loser because Europe are full of fucking retards. The European Union leadership are all treasonous. They should be hanged for what they've done to the Europeans. And they're completely screwed. Their highest achievement is a bottle cap. They have no AI infrastructure. It's complete shithole. Germany's in a recession. Chinese cars are better than anything Germany produces. Europe's fucking downfall. London looks like Muslimistan. They're overrun. Sweden's getting bomb capital of the world awards. It's a fucking shit show in Western Europe. Only Eastern Europe has the real white people left. What's left of the whites is in the Balkans and Eastern Europe. That's it. You want to go find what our people used to look like before they cucked out and turned gay as fuck? Go to the Balkans. Even that may be changing in the next 10, 15 years if they don't resist. Western Europe is just lost. Multicultural, diverse hellhole where you get stabbed in the fucking neck, walking your kid outside. It's a joke. Oh, greetings from Croatia. And if the war is going so good, why the fuck are we censoring so much shit and threatening people with charges? It's all the footage Americans are seeing. That's what's driving opposition. People are seeing the school strikes, the burning bases, other raw footage that goes dark, the buildings exploding all over Tel Aviv and shit. The narrative is crumbling before people's eyes, and they're trying to say, oh, he did the thing. He did the thing I talked about in the video like a week or two ago when I was walking around Arizona. Be careful with the news. You're going to start seeing this fake news and AI slop. The president went on to talk about AI slop and fake news. He did the thing. I told you guys in the video it was going to happen. The optics for the war don't look good. And then our own president was like, I'm going to jail you motherfuckers for treason. You guys don't support this war on Iran with your fake news and your slop AI videos? What are you doing, bro? He is the top goy. The goodest goy of them all. It's insanity. I'm asking you guys, where do you get your information from if footage gets blocked? This is why I think decentralized news, I get my shit from small accounts on X and Telegram channels. Do you know why? All mainstream media, Washington Post, all this shit, I don't trust any of them. I don't trust any publications. I just use them to verify sometimes what the Telegram and smaller channels are getting. That's how I come up with all this information for you guys. The reason I use decentralized news sources is because all centralized news is fake news.
Sent $4.99. What do you think of the Tucker Carlson situation? Sorry if you mentioned it already, I just got here.
Tucker Carlson to me represents containment. I don't like him for that fact alone. all he's doing is keeping the bottle squarely tightened on the frustration of the populist right, the nationalist right that's supposed to be rising. The very populist right that Trump managed to capture, but he completely fumbled. I think Tucker represents keeping that energy bottled up inside. He'll say stupid shit like, it's not about blood guilt. I'm not for that. I'm not for blood guilt. When literally the opposition says like, all Europeans are anti-Semitic. It's in their blood. I don't think a certain people should be. I don't think we need to paint everybody with a broad stroke. Okay, bro, are my eyes lying to me? Or am I called cattle? Am I not called cattle? Am I not told that I'm going to burn in hell? That I don't have a soul? That a third temple is being erected? Okay. That I can't see third world mass immigration destroying the West? That I know we're not the same, people are different? He's like, but people are the same. I have a nice place where I like to go eat at this spot. Name some ethnic food. I don't give a fuck. They just put out a study in Japan in a prefecture. It said whites and Japanese have the same crime rates. And now the police in that prefecture in Japan is going to hide the statistics. They'll no longer report it because third world migrant savages have rates that are so high it looks racist to keep track of this shit. So it's happening to Japan too. So I'm sorry, but when I see third worlders not assimilate, not able to assimilate, struggling to make it in Western civilized society, they need to be sent the fuck back. I don't care. It is racial. It is tied to race. It is tied to culture. Stop trying to bottle that up. Stop telling the people, it's just individuals. It's just individual. Yeah, individuals at a really high rate because of their culture, because of where they come from, because of years, thousands of years of the society they grew up in made them be a certain way. Also on a genetic level, it's true. Genetic predispositions exist. It is what it is. Is everybody like that? No, of course not every single person is like that. But the average numbers are so fucking high that we don't need them here. You understand? If you have population A and 90 of them are good and 10 are bad, and then you have population B, for example, and 10 are good and 90 are bad, why would you allow them in? Because you go, but not all of them. Some of them are good. I don't care. They didn't grow up in a civilized society. They're from a low trust, savage hellhole. They steal, they lie, they cheat one another. What do you think they'll do with us when they come here? We're not their kin. They band together. They're highly tribal and they cannot assimilate in the West. And you're telling me we're diversified. We're enriched when we bring in millions and watch our girls get raped, watch grooming gangs happen like the UK, watch our children, our boys get stabbed and jumped and beat to death. And I'm supposed to cover my eyes and say kumbaya, but not all. I don't care how fucking many are the good ones. It's not enough. There's too many bad ones that came over. So now you all have to go home because the good ones that are there don't do anything. They don't say anything. They don't police their own communities. You lost the privilege to live in the West. Do you understand? When we start getting stabbed to death, when you see 9-year-old women being raped to death, asphyxiated, when you see small children being attacked and groomed and sold and trafficked, you can go the fuck home. I don't care. You don't belong here. And you will never assimilate here. I don't care that the two that came over are doing well. I'm sick of it. That is why Reform UK, or Restore the UK, happened. And that is why right-wing populism is growing across Europe. And that is why mass re-immigration or remigration is going to happen. End of story. It just takes a little more time. The leftists are completely losing the narrative. The stats don't lie. The murders don't lie. The people in the streets protesting, there's no lying. Any politician in the West that dares talk the way Trump did, but actually follow through with populist messaging will be seen as a fucking hero. I bet my testicles on that. Trump dropped the bag because he got paid by Israel. Do you see how much power of the right he managed to harness by saying simple things? Deport them all, ban Muslims from coming in the United States, no more handouts to third worlders, get more European immigrants, into the United States. Do you remember how he was talking, especially in his first term? That's what got him voted. That's it. Get somebody that actually has the follow through that Trump lacks completely. That's the issue with Trump. He has zero follow-through.
Patrick Seattle sent $5. Iran is in control. No tanker/cargo will go through under threat of $8,000 drone. Massive unforced terror by the USA.
Big time, yeah. Well, he's getting his information from Jared Kushner and other idiots in his administration. That's the problem. And then apparently, from what I was reading, even if the military got a win, you guys, it doesn't reopen the Hormuz because insurers are the ones that actually set the timeline here, not the Pentagon. Without insurance, the ships will not transit the strait because obviously they must insure their goods. So after you had the Houthi, Red Sea, all those disruptions going on, the insurance premium stayed high for months after the threat faded. So they were overpaying. And then Lloyd's of London prices risk on a trailing basis. So they don't care about press conferences. Who gives a shit? They just see this ship burned, this strikes happened. And then that's how the actuaries do all the work and price out the contracts. So you would imagine that a strait that was mined 2 weeks ago will probably stay economically closed regardless of what the fucking Navy will say. Do you not see how that works? The economic damage has its own clock. And that's way slower than a military one. Trump can say, everything's safe now, you guys can cross the strait. One ship crosses the strait, it's reported it's on fire, it hit a mine. That ends that. That's it. It just takes one mine, the insurance companies are out. And we're fucked again. So they don't even have to actively contest it. Just fucking lay mines and just hope one goes off. That's it. The war made Iran stronger, ironically. The moderates that we wanted for negotiations are discredited completely inside of Iran. Do you understand what this means? So every future Iranian leader will point to this war literally right now as proof that talking to America is fucking pointless completely. We didn't just fail to do regime change, guys. We also eliminated the internal faction that would have made any diplomacy possible whatsoever with us. They don't want to talk. Every time, Trump has even said in the past few days that Iran wanted to come to the table and talk, and I mentioned it earlier, and Trump said, no, it's not enough. Then you had the president from Iran go on TV and was like, we never said anything about peace talks. We're not trying to have peace. We want to destroy the ability of the enemy to ever attack us again. And if that means going to war for years on end, that's what's going to happen. They're not backing down. Why would they? They have asymmetric warfare. They have 21 IRGC independent operating units, if I'm not mistaken. This so-called mosaic defense is what they call it. They invented it since 2005 for precisely this reason. They knew they were going to get decapitated by America. They knew in conventional means, America destroys everybody. Like I told you in the Rome video, there's no conventional army in the world that could beat America in that sense. So how do you beat America? You do a decentralized army command. They have 21 independently operating IRGC units, their own commanders, their own drones, their own firing, their own firing capabilities and all that shit. Think about that for a second. So even if you destroyed some base in southeast Iran, you have another 20 that you have to take out, 20 more commanders independently operating of Tehran, independent of the supreme leader and the government. That's insane. How do you do that? That's like guerrilla warfare on crack. It's like guerrilla warfare, not small units, but like actually a sort of centralized command that can launch ballistic missiles. And there's 21 of these reportedly to be operating, 21 separate units, if I remember correctly the number. Yes, it's like a large-scale, top-down, decentralized insurgency. That's what you could look at it as. Can you imagine that? So, I don't know what to say. The hardliners are fully consolidated. It's game over now. If the regime hasn't collapsed by now, it doesn't seem like they'll be collapsing anytime soon. I have actually seen protests in Israel currently going on right now. The Israelis are actually protesting, and Israel is looking far more brittle than Iran is today. We have American troops that got hit in 7 fucking countries by these stupid $7,000 drones. What happens when they're on Karg Island? What happens when they're in firing range of all of continental Iran? These will be casualties from like not forward operating bases, guy, in the thick of this shit. You understand? That's going to look like shit. They have zero blast protection on a small, tiny island in open terrain inside Iranian missile range. It's the worst fucking thing ever. We have absolutely no protection for them. If we have 200, just imagine this is only what we've reported. If we have 200 wounded in 16 days in defensive positions, What the fuck does day 30 look like on an exposed island? Does anybody ever ask these questions? We're throwing away good American men on an operation that gives us what? Another escalation ladder to climb with Iran? It's not going to defeat them. They're not going to stop if we take the Karg Island. They're going to intensify attacks on all the refineries in the Gulf. So what strategic win are we getting here? So what are the off-ramps? How does this actually end? Okay. Number one is what? You accept Iran's terms. So you withdraw from the fucking Gulf. The strait is reopened and U.S. hegemony is over. That's one. I don't think we're going to let that one go. Number two, ground invasion, 500,000 troops, multi-year engagement. Oil's probably going to be at 200 or more. 75% of Americans already oppose it.
Memoism 457 cent $2. It's the Zerg.
It's the Zerg. Option three is what? Back channeling with China and Russia. Both of them are profiting from the war continuing, so they have no reason to end the war quickly, especially Russia. Why would they end it? China's still getting its oil. China's actually far more independent of the Iran's oil than most people are led to believe. So that doesn't work. And then what? Slow bleed is the next option here, which is what's already happening. Munitions are draining, allies are drifting, they don't give a fuck about us and they're not coming. Oil is going to stay high. We have no endpoint and no strategic objectives that we could say this is where we draw the line at and we call that a W. That doesn't exist. Literally. Every off-ramp costs more than the on-ramp did for us. It's a shit show. And which one? Of those four options, which one do you think we're taking? Are we going to negotiate through Iran and China? Are they going to allow us to close this out? Especially Russia when we've been dragging them down with Ukraine. Are we going to get bled slowly? Are we going to really commit to a ground troop? Or are we accepting the terms of Iran?
Source
What do you think?
2,911 cent $9.99. Thanks for the StarCraft memories. I miss that game.
Thank you, bro. That's my favorite StarCraft Brood War. That was my favorite game on computer when I was young. That game is goated. Poll numbers are whack. Republicans are getting cooked. They're complete establishment cucks. This is literally the neocons times 100 on steroids. Could it even be worse with Kamala at this point? I don't know. What comes next? Well, honestly, what comes next? Could it have been worse? Mark Levin just went and Trump went and called Mark Levin like, what the fuck did he even say? He's like praising Mark Levin as a great American, true MAGA. What? Excuse me? Okay. Who the fuck? Look at the people that co-opted MAGA now. It's the very people that were calling Trump a retard. You got Ben Shapiro, who never even liked Trump, is now glazing the fuck out of Trump. All these Israeli shills are just glazing Trump hard. Bombing Iran was like the next best, is the best thing he's ever, this is the greatest president of our lifetime. Okay, bro. Okay, but what's he doing for Americans? Okay. His cabinet is all never Trumpers. Literally, J.D. Vance, his right-hand man, called him retarded also. Everything, not literally, but pretty much practically called him retarded. He was a never Trumper. How do you surround yourself with grifters like that? Like, you literally surround yourself with the people that hate you. All right. I'll never understand that part. But okay, bro. Lesson learned, boys. As for Tucker and all these other right-wingers on the mainstream that are anti-war, I'm glad they're at least talking about it. Tucker's bringing up some really crazy shit recently, too. He's getting a lot of heat for it. He's saying the CIA is spying on him and might charge him with some shit just because he talked to some Iranian leaders. Don't know what'll happen with that and how that's going to shake out for him. But at least he's having the conversation. I'll give him that. But I don't like how he tries to take the steam out of the populist right or the right wing. I view that as containment. These guys are like agents of containment to try to keep us all bunched up in the middle somewhere. And I'm not a fan of that shit at all. Let it out, dude. Tell people the fucking truth. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sick of picking between fake and gay or retarded and gay government. I just want a government that works. I want a real right-wing government. I want a real populist, nationalist, right-wing government. Makes no sense, dude. You back off on mass immigration or mass deportation, excuse me, because you're afraid of how it looks in the polls because Hispanics don't fucking support you anymore. Hispanics don't support you, bro. Who gives a fuck? You were voted in for mass deportations. Oh my God, 2 retards got shot and killed. 2 zealots of the left. Whoa. We got to stop it, boys. That's it. And by the way, we're going to increase the visas for all the farm workers because we need more farm workers. What? Oh, but you're willing to go bomb Iran. Isn't bombing Iran infinitely worse for optics than mass deportation? So which is it then? There's no congruency here. Nothing makes sense. If you're that afraid of midterms, then you never would have went and bombed Iran and entered in this shit show. So, which leads me to believe their internal polling was dog shit. Absolutely terrible, abysmal numbers. They knew they were going to get swept. He probably believes he's going to get impeached. It's not going to be a lame duck. They'll probably impeach him. And he knows they only had a couple of months and just fucking went for it, bro. Guns blazing, Israel. Daddy's going to give you everything you want off your checklist. Here you go. Yep. What else could it be? I literally have what else could it possibly be? Explain to me how this makes any sense. There's no logic to it, so we're missing some key information here. Maybe the key information is this. Maybe it wasn't even midterms. Maybe it's... I know some of the conspiracy theorists are saying every time Netanyahu visits the goddamn White House, something happens with those Epstein file releases, and then all of a sudden we're just doing shit that is not popular with the American public. So what's going on there? They noticed that shit. I don't know what